Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Unapologetically Brown. My name is Sergey, and thank you for joining me again. If you've been with me for the last two episodes, you will know that we had a chance to dive deep into my family history and a little bit about the background. You would have met my two sisters, Geeta and Haj, who were able to give you an insight into what it was like for them to grow up as the older siblings of a typical Punjabi family. And on today's show, I'm going to explore a bit more further into that family history and the roots. I've got my older cousin joining me today. His name is Bajan Orlak, and he grew up in the 60s in the UK, having arrived from the Punjab as a youngster. So he's going to give us a little bit about what it was like and what challenges he faced. So please welcome on today's show my cousin, who is my mum's nephew, so my mum's older brother's son. So welcome him on today's show. Hi, Bajan.
Hi, Sergey. Thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you for agreeing to do this. It's going to be interesting for me to learn a little bit more about the family history from yourself firsthand. So I'm really excited about this conversation because even though we are a close family, you and me have never really sat down and had this conversation before, have we?
No.
So it's exciting for me. So Bajan, tell me a little bit about yourself. You as a child arrived here at a very young age.
Yes, I was about 4 years old. I arrived in 1962 with my mother and aunt. Yeah. And it was the year 1962-63 when we had the really, really cold winter.
Oh.
I remember that snow was on the ground for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was the first time I saw snow.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's an everlasting memory, isn't it?
Yeah. So I left the warm weather back home.
Yeah.
And came into a cold, harsh winter.
Yeah. And Bajan, how did you feel as a youngster? Can you remember your emotions at the time? What did your parents tell you in India? Why were you leaving the home country, the country you were born? Why were you leaving? And what did they tell you as a youngster? Or did they not tell you anything? You just sort of packed up and came?
No. My mother told me that we were coming to the UK to join my father and my grandfather. Who were settled here. Yeah. So I was really, my heart was torn because I loved the village life. Yeah. With my carts and, sort of playing freely.
And you still remember that as a youngster?
I have some memories of that.
Oh, bless.
Yes.
Yeah, so it must have been so, the challenge was not just for your parents, but for yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Coming here as a child, only 4 years old, I couldn't speak a word of English or understand a word of English. And it was the same for my mother.
Yeah, yeah. So your dad, Mamaji, was already here.
Yes.
How long had he already been here?
Well, he came shortly after my birth.
Okay.
In 1958.
Yeah.
That year is memorable for me because that's the year that grandfather won the trophy for being Warwickshire darts champion.
Oh, bless, yes, yeah.
So they had a darts team in Leamington, the Indian Social Club.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was one of their elite players. Yeah. And so when we arrived in 62, there was a lot of trophies on the cabinet.
Yes.
Which my father and grandfather had won over the years.
Yeah, so that's a good memory, isn't it? So our grandfather, he won these trophies, didn't he? Yes. So he was a real character, wasn't he? He was wonderful, wasn't he? He was a proper gentleman, wasn't he? And so many people did mistake him for being English, didn't they? A white English gentleman.
Absolutely, he had his own style of dress. He was always suited, and he would wear a trilby. Yeah. And yes, you're right. He was often mistaken for being English.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? So you landed, you came by plane.
Yes.
And how was your journey?
Pretty traumatic, if I say, because it was the first time I'd ever been on a flight. Yeah. And so I wasn't used to it, so I became unsettled, and so I didn't enjoy the journey. It was a rough journey.
So not only was it mentally quite scarring, physically you were feeling unwell.
Yes.
Oh, bless. So you landed, it was a cold day, one of the worst winters, I think, in 62, 63 they had. What was your first memory touching down? What would you say was your first memory? You were reunited with your family, your dad and granddad?
I mean, I had no previous memories of my father because I was only about a few months old when he left. When he came. But I was really touched with the love I got from all my uncles.
Yeah.
There were mostly uncles in those days. Yeah. The families came later. Yeah. So we were one of the first families to arrive.
Reunite,
in those times.
Yeah, because it was a real done thing, wasn't it? The men would come, women were left in the villages, and then hopefully everyone reunites.
Yes.
What was your mum's expectations and your expectations of coming and arriving?
I never really spoke to Mum about that. She was very dutiful. She worked very hard. And in those days, there were lots of grandfather's friends who would come. So most of the time, she'd be in the kitchen cooking.
Oh, bless her. Which is a typical thing. That's what they did, didn't they?
Yes.
The men went out to work.
That point, Sajid, it was the men who cooked for themselves.
Yeah.
So
finally,
my dad would cook and my granddad would cook. So, they were used to cooking, but when my mum arrived, obviously the duty was handed over.
Yes. Quite easily, I'm sure.
And from that day, I've continued to prefer Indian food.
Oh, do you? rather than anything else.
Western food.
Oh, bless you. So once it arrived here, that everyone was reunited, and then the hard work started. They obviously had jobs anyway.
Yes.
And your mum didn't work. Did she, Mummy? Did she work?
Not in the early days.
Early days, yeah.
Not in the early days, but she was one of the first ladies, Asian ladies, to work in Leamington.
Oh, okay.
And it was somewhat frowned upon, you're sending your wife or your mother to work, and she was quite pioneering in those days. So she worked in schools, she worked in care homes.
Oh, wow.
The hospital.
So she was a real independent
she worked very hard.
Yeah.
And that's something that was I inherited from both my mother and my father and grandfather, was the work ethic.
Yeah.
Working hard and paying back into society as well.
Yeah,
which is something I got from my grandfather, sort of doing something for the community, going beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I've tried to continue that.
No, that's brilliant. We touched on this in my previous episode with Geetha and Haj, and we touched on the fact that Nana did a lot for the community. He settled a lot of families, didn't he?
Yes.
And what was he doing at the time? Because we remember he was doing door-to-door, was it door-to-door selling?
That was in the very early days. When he arrived in UK in 1937, he actually left India in 1936.
Oh, wow.
With a British passport, because in those days there was no Indian passport.
Yeah.
So, and there were no flights, so he came by ship via Africa, spent about 6 months in Africa before landing in the UK. Yeah. In those days, there were very few Indian people, including, when I say Indian, I'm including the people now from Pakistan or Bangladesh, because there was all India at that time. There were very few Indian homes. There's about 12 Indian houses spread across the UK, and only around 200 Indian people who were settled here.
Wow.
Most of them were men.
Of course.
In the early days. And there were no jobs.
Yeah.
There were no jobs in the early days. So yes, he would carry a suitcase, selling ties and silks and things like that, knocking on door to door. But kind of close to the war, I think it was during the war, there was some work in Gaydon. They were building bunkers and underground bunkers, and my grandfather joined the gang there, working, labouring.
Okay.
And basically digging deep, going deep. It's it's munitions storage, and that's how he came to settle in Leamington.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Leamington and Coventry.
Yeah.
Because he found work there. It was hard work. It was manual work.
It was labour, wasn't it?
But he took to that. He was a big guy.
Yeah. He
was. And strong man. Yeah. So he took to that, and he eventually settled in Leamington. Yeah. And then he worked for Lockheed.
Yes.
Who made components for cars.
Cars, that's right.
Brakes, clutches, such like. And he worked there for a long, long time. And he was a charge hand.
Okay.
Charge hand, a step down from the foreman. So he was in charge of a gang. Yeah. And he took great pride, and he often spoke to me about the fact that he left school after 5 days in India.
Yeah.
When he was about 5 years old.
Yeah.
If I can tell you the story about that.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so he was very bright.
Yeah.
And the schoolmaster asked him in Punjabi, Sattu Panja, which is what is 7 times 5. Yeah. And my grandfather replied Penti, which is 35, which was the correct answer. But the teacher told him to keep quiet because he didn't ask him. And then he changed the question to what is Sattu Panja.
Yeah.
He turned it around, and again my grandfather replied 35 or Penti. And he was called to the front, and he took a slap off the teacher and never went to school again.
Didn't go back.
But he was a very learned man, and he taught himself to read, to write, to speak English.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
He learned all that, but that was the last time he
went to school.
But he would tell me that in Lockheed,
he
had 7 masters.
Yes.
Master's graduates from India working under him. He took
he was
proud
of that, which he should be really, for someone to come from a village without the education, and then manage to bring all his family as well. Yes. It was a big accomplishment in those days, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he was a proud man, and his accomplishments were rewarded because, of course, he met the Queen, the late Queen, didn't he?
Yes.
Tell me a bit about that story.
My uncle and aunt, they had a business, and they had a indoor shop in Lee Valley.
That's right, yeah.
Lee Valley, or in London anyway. Yeah. And the Queen paid a visit there, and that's where Chachi and Baba, they met Her Majesty.
Yeah.
My daughter met
that's
Her Majesty
right.
as well.
Yes, yeah.
When she came to open the Criminal Justice Centre in Royal Leamington Spa.
Yeah.
So Vanita was 6 years old at the time.
Oh, bless her,
And she actually managed to speak to
the Queen
Her Majesty
as well.
and the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah. It's such an accomplishment for someone of that background, like our granddad, to have met the Queen. I think he probably felt, gosh, this is a moment, isn't it? So really special. So going back to your journey here, you've just arrived, you've been reunited, and of course the work starts for your parents to get you into school and everything else. What was the battles like there culturally? Did they enroll you straight away? What was it a definite that you were going to go? Obviously, go to school here. You had to be enrolled. You had to be
Yes.
So
I remember my grandfather taking me to Shrubland Street Primary School. Yeah. And the head teacher asked for my name, and my name on my passport at that time was Bhajan Singh.
Yeah.
And the headmaster said, you can't have a surname Singh.
Oh, okay.
Because we can't have everyone being called Singh.
Yeah.
And so I attached our village name, Olak,
to it
as a surname. My father and grandfather and my mother never used the surname. My grandfather always went by the name of Tara Singh.
Yeah.
and my father advancing.
Yeah, well, that's what they did, didn't
which
they?
is what the Sikhs, are meant to do. But then I became known as Bhajan Singh Aulak.
Aulak, yeah. And that's how it was done, wasn't it? That's how we all had to take up our surnames because of identity, schools and documents, legal documents.
Yes.
How did you feel as a young child going to school for the first time? Do you remember those emotions?
I was fortunate. I did have some extended cousins who were already settled here. Yeah. They could speak English. So I would go to school with them.
Okay.
But they weren't in my class. Yeah. I was befriended by one of the Turpin family. Turpin family, famous for boxing.
Yeah, yeah.
Keith Turpin, who is a friend and still.
Yeah, that's nice.
And he worked with my father in Lockheed for many, many years.
Yeah.
He befriended me, so nobody messed with me in those days.
Just as well. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. And were there many Indians at school?
There were probably about 12, 15 families in total in Leamington at that time.
Yeah. Did you feel it? Was there any part of you where you felt different? I mean, you must have...
to be honest, I was made to feel really, really welcome.
That's nice. That's interesting.
From a starting point where I didn't understand or speak a word of English, to today where I work for Coventry University as a program director. It's been a journey, but I've had the most amazing teachers, lecturers, and from every situation I've tried to learn.
Do you feel, Baji, that the landscape of the country was so different to how it is now? That's why the reception you obviously got was so welcoming, because our experience was the same growing up, is that everyone was so welcoming, so warm. People were genuinely interested in finding out about us Asian people, Indian people, and our cultures and traditions.
So this was not always the case. Because whilst I was welcomed by my teachers and the school and most of the kids in school, I have vivid memories of the wall in Touchbook Street being painted with blacks go home, wogs go home. The police would come and paint over it, but next week the sign would be up.
And you remember that?
I remember that with seeing that with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And later on, some Indian houses being attacked. With fire.
Did you understand it at the time, or were you too young to understand it?
No, I was understanding it, but I was protected by the family.
Yeah, of course.
I was very much protected by the family.
And our parents were good at doing that. We discussed this in the last episode again with Geeta and Haj. We discussed how our parents did protect us. Yes. They were very good at sheltering us from situations like that. I mean, we had the march, the National Front marching in Southall.
Yes.
And as youngsters, we don't remember it because they did protect us and shield us.
Well, I remember that because I was a student in London at that time.
Yeah.
I was doing my first degree at the City of London Polytechnic.
Yeah.
Now the Metropolitan University of London. And the marches in the 70s, they were happening all over the country.
All over the country, yeah.
All over the country. And, it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
And our communities faced a lot of hardship, a lot of racism.
Yeah.
Racism was rife even in Leamington Spa. I mentioned about the writing on the walls. There was an episode where there was a time when a member of our community went to buy a house, and the guy, his name was Robert Ralph, he refused to sell to an Indian or black person.
That's terrible,
and that hit all the newspapers. And
unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah. How did Mum and Dad and Nanaji feel? How did they feel about the racism? What was their understanding of it? Did they experience it? Did you hear any stories in the house?
If I can tell you a story about Grandad, and this happened in Lockheed. Obviously, I'm telling a tale because grandfather told me the story. When he was working in Lockheed, one of the things that he did, talking about community service, was he helped a lot of Indian people get work, find work in Lockheed. You know, if he recommended somebody, they would start because they needed the workers in those days for the industry. And I remember him telling me about a time when somebody who wasn't strong like grandfather was called a black bastard by the foreman, by a member of management. And he started crying. He looked at my grandfather and tears in his eyes. And my grandfather says, "Tu kuch karna nahi." In other words, aren't you going to do something about it? He's just called you a black bastard. And he just looked at my grandfather and cried. And grandfather moved him to one side, picked up a spade, and, you know, sort of reverse, like tennis, you know, reverse backhand. He took the foreman down.
Oh, wow.
The case went to county court.
Oh, did it? Oh.
County court. And Grandad could speak English. He didn't pay for a solicitor or anybody to defend him.
He represented himself.
But the judge asked him, he says, Mr. Singh, have you got anything to say in your defense?
Yeah.
And my grandfather simply replied, "My lord, if you call me a black bastard, you will get the same."
Oh, gosh. Brave, very brave.
He was gentle, as you know. He was gentle with children, but nobody messed with him.
No. And that was a brave thing to do, wasn't it? I didn't know that story. That's so interesting.
Yes.
So interesting, isn't it? But that's what they were facing.
Yes.
Looking at how the current climate is and the landscape in the country is at the moment, because undeniably there are issues. We have issues with, you know, the immigration and everything else. Do you feel that those issues are coming back, resurfacing? And how does it make you feel?
They are resurfacing, Sarjeet, but there's always been a need for immigration.
Of course there has,
and that need was great in the 60s when I arrived.
Yeah.
You know, you probably remember the speech by Enoch Powell.
Of course, yeah.
The Indian community owe Enoch Powell a huge debt of gratitude because Enoch Powell actually served in India in the army, and he served with the Sikh regiments. And he knew how hardworking the Sikhs were.
Absolutely.
And he was in government as, I believe, I may be wrong, employment secretary.
Yeah.
And he introduced the voucher system, which allowed many people, especially from the Punjab, a large majority of who were Sikhs, to come to the UK. And because he identified a need in industry, because many English people, Scottish, Welsh people had been killed during the war.
Yeah, that's right.
So they needed people to work in the factories, on the buses.
Yes. Everything, transportation, building, hospitals. That's why they put the call out, didn't they?
That's why they put the call out, yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're seeing those tensions resurface.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but it certainly upsets me because, you know, we're seeing these tensions rise and it's things that we didn't think we would see again in this lifetime. I didn't think I would see it, you know.
Absolutely.
And for the first time, even I'm feeling it. And I was born here, you know, and I'm feeling it, you know. And I think it's a different type of, it's almost... it's not so much racism. I don't know if you can even call it racist, but it's certainly it's everything. It's cultures. People aren't interested. There's a cultural difference and people don't want to know about it. People are, you know, they're afraid of you know, different people's cultures, different, you know, nationalities. It's almost like they're afraid. So I think there's been a shift in what we're seeing, you know, so it's scary, but I think, again, it's a talking point. We have to talk about it. We do have to talk about it.
I think, Sarjeet, you would be one of the first people to agree that we have embraced the English culture.
Oh, absolutely.
The English way of life.
Yeah.
And we've spent all our life contributing to society.
Yeah.
Whether it be in education, whether it be in work, we've contributed to the economy, we paid our dues, etc. And we didn't come illegally. We came on
the proper routes.
Invite.
Yes, yeah.
And I can understand the feeling of people who are facing hardship, even to the point of putting bread on the table, and then seeing people who come here illegally or as asylum seekers, and then getting all the benefits.
Yeah.
And pensioners struggling to heat their homes.
Yeah.
So I fully understand.
Yeah.
It's the resentment.
Yeah.
Having said that, United Kingdom, Britain, call it what you will, has always embraced people from abroad. Sometimes not out of choice.
No, that's right.
The Romans came here.
The
Normans came here. The Saxons came here.
Yes.
So we can't say there's a pure English person.
No.
And I will never call myself an English. I'm British. Just like the Scottish. Just like the Irish. Just like the Welsh and the English people who I get on perfectly well with.
Yeah, and we are a nation, and it is a nation who have always welcomed people, always welcomed and embraced different cultures, and that's what the worrying fact is, to see these scenes again where then I feel, like I said, they no longer want to embrace. They just, it's tough to understand it. It's difficult and it's challenging. And I do think there are challenging times ahead. Budgie, just let's go back to growing up and you growing up. So you start school, you start to learn English. You're now a teenager. Yes. What was it like for you as a teenager? Were you fighting? Were you resisting from being, following the traditions which your parents were trying to give you, and then having this new British life that you were embracing? What was it like as a young boy for you?
It came to a fore past my teens at university, because I grew up speaking Punjabi at home.
Yes.
And if I can say, my father only went to get my school report once.
Oh, bless. But that was typical of the dads then.
When I was 15, 16. And he would always ask me to speak in English to the teacher or the doctor or whatever.
Yes, you were translating.
Even though he spoke English at work and whatever. Yeah. But he asked me to ask Mr. Pryor, who was my teacher, English teacher. He said, I know his mathematics is good. That was based on the assumption my father's mathematics is good. So he just assumed my mathematics was good. But he says, can you help him with his English and give him extra tuition? He said, I will pay for his extra tuition.
Okay.
And Mr. Price says, he doesn't need that. He's top of the stream.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I was in the top stream and I was top of my stream in English and maths.
Oh, wow.
But my dad didn't know that. He thought I could only speak Punjabi.
Because that's what you were doing at home.
And I grew up, I remember the very early days when there were nothing on radio.
Yeah.
No Punjabi channels, nothing on TV. It was only years later that there was a half-hour program on the radio, on BBC Radio on a Sunday. Yeah. And we'd have to get up early in the morning
to listen to it.
To listen to that, and everybody would be listening to that. And later on, there was a half an hour program on TV. Yeah. Apna hi ghar samjhiye.
Okay.
And that's fond memories. But
what year was that, Bodgy?
Oh, I can't remember, but it was early
70s.
Maybe even 60s.
Late 60s.
Late 60s.
Okay.
Before that, they would get a radio which received programs from Russia.
Oh, wow.
And then we would try and tune into that. But grandfather was very committed to community, and he negotiated with the local cinema owners.
Yeah.
So at the start, it was every 6 weeks there would be an Indian film
movie,
for the families to watch. It was actually the Indian Social Club, the people who played the darts. Yeah. They would club together, put the money in to get the film to hire the cinema and show the film. So I grew up watching movies.
And were they were your social nights? You were going to the cinema?
They were during the day on a Sunday
with the family.
Sunday,
yeah. Okay.
So,
and then as you grew up, as you were a teenager, what were your teenage years like? Were you allowed to go out? Were you restricted? Did you go out to the pub? Were you allowed to do any of that?
Sajid, I didn't drink until I was about 21, 22.
Yeah.
In fact, it was my cousin brother, Masi, Munda's wedding.
Yeah.
And I had half a lager.
Yeah.
And by this time I'd finished university, I had half a lager. Yeah. And he turned around to my dad, he said, "Oh, Pajan's drinking."
Oh.
But my granddad and my father never said to me, "Don't drink."
Don't drink. Yeah.
They never said, "Don't drink."
Yeah.
I chose not to drink, and now I choose whether I drink or not drink.
So it wasn't a big issue at the time, they weren't.
No. The way through my college days, I didn't drink.
What about going out and, socially? Did you have English friends? Did you have a mixture? No. Okay.
To the point that I can't remember visiting an English person's house.
Oh, really? That's funny because we were saying the same thing.
Or being invited to their home.
Yes. Yeah.
So we would play football in the park. Yeah. There was no restriction. We'd go in the morning, come back for our lunch, go back out. And so I was lucky again that Granddad used to give me a shilling, the old money shilling, which was a lot of money. Yeah. It could buy me a bar of chocolate, and I used to buy playing cards, which came with the chewing gum, and I would be the boy with the ball.
Yeah.
So I had lots of friends who would play football with me. With me.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Oh, bless. Yeah. Let's go back to obviously your parents and wanting them for you to follow a certain tradition, culture. Was religion quite a strong emphasis in your life in terms of did mum and dad take you to Gurdwara? Because certainly,
Mum used to go to the Gurdwara. And Dad very rarely went to the Gurdwara, but he was a very religious person.
Yeah.
He would never teach his religion apart from Baba Nanak. He believed in him.
Yeah.
But he never kind of pushed it down anybody's throat or anything, because I've got the same belief, is that I believe religion is a personal thing.
Definitely, yeah.
And, I've not taught my religion to my daughter.
Yeah.
If she learns about it, she learns about everything else. Yeah. If she reads about it, learns about it. Yeah. If she finds good in it,
to be, though.
If she finds good in it, she knows that I go to the temple. Yeah. Her mother goes to the temple, and she goes to the temple. Yeah. But she's been brought up same way. Being taught in English.
Yes, yeah.
She actually went to a Catholic school. Yeah. A junior school was Catholic. So I don't believe that any religion teaches wrong.
No.
People to do wrong.
No.
It's the interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I think it's a nice way to be. And I think a lot of our parents of that generation, when they did come over here, they were desperate in many ways to hang on to their culture and traditions. Yes. And I think, unfortunately, religion took maybe a sort of second to that, even though religion was present in many households, and we still got the baptized Sikhs.
Yes.
It wasn't prevalent in a lot of households because I feel our parents were so just concentrating on working so hard.
Yes.
When did they have time to go to the temple? No. They were working so hard, weren't they?
In the early days, there was no temple.
There was no temple. In a lot of places like that, they weren't. And I just get the impression they were working so hard.
Yes.
they didn't get a chance to actually go to the temple.
Yes.
You know, it was Sunday was probably, if then, you know, in the early days, Sunday was probably the only day off.
Yes.
And everything was closed. And like you said, there weren't many temples around. So I do think they were so desperate to hang on to traditions and cultures, but religion maybe came second to that in some households.
Yes.
Baji, you're one of 3 siblings.
Yes.
So with regards to growing up and feeling the pressures of the 2 cultures, like we've spoken, and you've said you didn't really find it that difficult, did you find there was other pressures in terms of setting examples for your siblings and showing and leading the way in terms of, did your parents put those constraints on you?
No, because I remember a time when I was telling my brother off or sister, I can't remember which one it was, and Dad simply said, "You don't need to do that, I'm here."
Yeah, yeah.
So I stopped doing that.
It's really interesting because I think that's because there was a mixture of you.
Yeah.
And in our household, as you know, there's all girls predominantly, and then we have the 2 younger siblings, the boys. And even though it's very interesting because my mum and your dad are brother and sister, there was quite an age gap, wasn't there, between the 2 of them? Was it about 13 years, 14 years? Yeah.
I can explain that if you want.
Go on, please do. It's quite a big age gap, isn't it? You're actually closer in age to my mum, being a nephew, than her own brother.
Yes.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yes. Because my dad was born in 1933, and my grandfather, our grandfather, traveled to the UK in 1936, arrived in the UK in 1937. And he did not go back until Independence Day in 1947.
That's right, yeah.
So that's when Puaji,
she was conceived,
your mom was born, and then following that, Chacha after a couple of years.
Yeah.
So there's only a 7-year age difference between me and Chacha, and 10 years between me and Pua.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's an age gap between me and my brother.
Yes.
Because me and my mother were back in India. And we came to the UK, and then they was adjusting to life in the UK, and then my brother was born. Yeah. And a couple of years later, a sister was born.
Yeah. So there's quite an age gap between you and your brother as well, isn't there? Yeah. So that's really interesting. So because Mum always talks about you very fondly, and she has a really close relationship to you. And she always says that even though it was your dad, her brother, she always felt closer to you. Yeah. And their parenting skills were very different, I feel. Yes. Like your dad was parenting skills very different to Mum's.
Did he have any?
Back in those days, I don't even know, really, to be honest with you. I mean, Mum's...
I don't really remember him holding my brother or sister.
Bless, really? Isn't that funny? Do you think that was typical of men of that time?
No, because Granddad was totally different.
Totally different,
Granddad was totally different, because all the kids...
he was,
they loved Granddad.
Yeah,
because
we all did.
He was like... a big teddy bear.
He was.
He was big and strong, but at the same time so caring.
Yeah, and he was looking after the kids right up through to you know he looked after our cousins in Chigwell for a long time. He would have you guys for a long time. Yes. Yeah,
I mean, I was very, very, very fortunate. I've had a very lucky life in the sense that I'm the eldest of the eldest.
Yes.
And I was the only child, when Pua and Chacha came, and I was the only child.
Yeah.
So I had the love from all of them.
You did, no, you're right.
But the biggest love was from Granddad.
Yeah. And of course, you were there when my parents met.
Yes.
And got married. So I've been intrigued to ask you about this.
Well, they didn't meet and get married.
No, I know.
It didn't happen quite like that.
Day. So tell us what you remember of those magical moments.
Well, I was around about 10 years old. And your grandfather used to live in Smethwick at that time with your uncles and your aunts. And somebody told Dad and Baba about Pupaji. Yeah. And they went to Smethwick. Yeah. and they gave the Sagan.
Simple as that.
They gave the Sagan, and they wrote a letter to India to say
That's right.
This
infamous letter. We know about this letter.
And this letter was sent to my grandfather's brother, who replied, "What have you seen?
Yes, what have you done?
What have you done? She's a precious daughter. What have you seen?"
Do you know, had he based that on some investigations that he'd done out there?
No, they wouldn't.
Because I'd heard that he'd done some investigation and said, "What have you done? This family is not..." Back in India, that's right. This family is not to your standard. They don't even have a decent house. Is that right?
That's right. He wrote a letter to my grandfather in Urdu.
Yes.
And grandfather couldn't read and write Urdu, so Dad read it and he wrote back saying, "We've seen...
Yes,
everything
we've done it. We've done it, given our word."
Yeah.
And that's how it was done.
They were men of their word.
Yeah. And that's how it was done. And so what do you remember? So that was done.
Yes.
And Granddad liked Dad and liked the family.
All the way through his life.
Yes, absolutely. They were very close.
Yes.
They were close. And then the big day, obviously. Do you remember how my mum felt? Because you were at an age where you had a good memory.
Yes.
And do you remember the wedding day?
Bua was always very, very intelligent.
Yes.
Very, very clever. One thing that Dad did wrongly was to stop her going into education and going to college and learning. She would have excelled.
Definitely, yeah.
But in those days, it was get married at a young age.
Yeah.
So I don't remember having a conversation with Bua about how do you feel or anything like that.
Yeah.
But she did what grandfather and Dad
her older brother,
asked her to do. And by this time, obviously, grandmother had passed away, and it was granddad's responsibility. So I remember the wedding. It took place in New Street, and the old Gurdwara, which a few years later got burned down, and now we have a wonderful Gurdwara in Leamington.
Yeah.
But the wedding took place in New Street, and there were only about, I would say, 10 guests from your dad's side of the family.
Yes, that's right.
And the reception, I remember, was in the Ashoka Hotel.
That's right.
Sorry, restaurant.
Ashoka
restaurant in Leamington Spa, which was owned by Mr. Desi, who later on became mayor of Royal Leamington Spa. In fact, we talked about the Queen. He was the mayor of Leamington Spa when Her Majesty first visited Leamington. She visited Leamington twice. Yeah. But on her first visit, he was actually the mayor who received her. And he was a very dear friend of Granddad and Dad.
The after party, the reception was there.
Yeah. And in those days, there were no parties.
Yeah, of course.
It was lunch.
There was no music?
There was no...
Oh,
I can't remember any music or dancing or anything like that. It was a meal in the restaurant. And then soon after the wedding, Pupaji moved from Smethwick and he bought a house in, I think it was Alexandra Road in Tipton.
That's right, yes, yeah.
And then Geeta was born in Tipton, so I remember that.
Yeah.
And we would go almost on a weekly basis with Granddad to go and visit
and see them.
And I kind of grew up being best friends with your Chacha, with Kira.
Yes, that's right.
He was a couple of years younger than me.
My dad's younger brother, that's right.
Pupaji would make us race and he'd take us to Dudley Zoo and to the cinema. There used to be a cinema opposite Dudley Zoo, and I remember a time he gave us a choice of, do you want to go to the zoo or do you want to
cinema?
See a James Bond movie? So on that occasion we chose the James Bond.
Of course you have to. James Bond all the way. Oh, they're good memories. They're fond memories.
And Pupaji had a grocery shop in Birmingham as well, for a short while.
Yeah.
And then later he moved to Southall.
To Southall, yeah.
Southall,
well, they moved to Ealing first.
Ealing, yes.
And then moved to Southall.
Yes.
And of course, so your memory, of the wedding, because
Yes.
I find this quite, for children today, this is completely alien. They met on their wedding day, didn't they?
Yeah.
They met on their wedding day.
Yes.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes, and there was a tradition that only the men
went. No women
from the boys' side. Only the men would go to the wedding. So there were no women, no sisters. Put sisters didn't go to the wedding, and
and it must have been a shock to Mum.
Yeah.
We always say, and she says it herself. She went from a small family.
Yeah.
To such a big family. It was a complete shock to her.
Yes.
And I think that's what she initially in the early days struggled with. But of course, when they moved to London, I think she gained a little bit more independence.
Yes.
And was able to get used to having her own household rather than an extended family.
Yes.
Baji, knowing and having seen your own aunt.
Having said that, Sarjeet, I remember how Pupaji and Buaji cared for your granddad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right up to the last day.
Right up to the last day.
We're saying moving away from the extended family, but he kept. We
did keep the unit there. They did keep the unit there, absolutely, and it was very important to them. Yes. They did, and I think, and we appreciated it as children because we had those years with Granddad in the house as well. So we got to know him, got to know a bit about our background as well. Yeah. But talking about how, how our parents and how the families were and how our parents were brought together, what's your opinion? It's interesting to know what's your opinion on, couples being arranged to meet like that and arranged marriages. And nowadays there's such a taboo around arranged marriages. Is that something you would feel reluctant to do for your daughter, to introduce her to somebody?
Thing is, Sarjeet, I went through the same thing.
Yes, of course, we all did.
I had an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
And, there's no regrets.
Yeah.
Because, there's a saying that mothers know best.
Yes, yeah.
And, so I've got a wonderful wife, Balbir.
Yes, yeah.
And she's my rock.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have made a better choice.
Yeah.
Moving on, I'm not sure whether Vanita will go the same route. And I would give her the freedom to choose.
To choose, yeah.
Just like I gave her the freedom to choose her career path.
Yeah.
So things have moved on. I was brought up in the traditional Indian way, but things have moved on now.
Of course they have. Yeah. And do you think it's a good thing that the way we've moved on culturally?
It doesn't always work, Sarjeet, because I've got lots and lots of friends and many of their sons and daughters. And if I give one example, he's got all the money in the world, but his son is 40 years old.
Yeah.
And now it's difficult to find a match.
Yes, yeah.
It's not as though he doesn't want to get married now.
Yes.
But to find a suitable match, it becomes more and more difficult.
Of course it does. With age it does.
Yes.
And do you feel things have moved on, of course, with marriages and things like that, and moved on in many other ways? Do you think that our culture, us as a society, as a community, we've tried to rush that move and we've moved too quickly just to keep up with everything? Because I often laugh and I often see people and, in our communities almost thinking they're not part of the community or they're not Asian or Indian. And I feel that they're trying to rush to almost stay modern or modernize, Have we changed too quickly, too fast and modernized too quickly where we've forgotten so many traditions and cultures left behind,
I think it's important for all of us to remember our roots and our, where we come from, what our heritage is.
Yeah.
And I think we are losing that.
Yeah, definitely.
If for example, the command of Punjabi, if we're not speaking Punjabi at home, then it's going to get lost.
Definitely.
The grandchildren won't be speaking Punjabi if the parents aren't speaking Punjabi.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So that's getting lost. whether we're rushing it or not. I'll talk about my experience from Leamington. Our Gurdwara is one of only the few Gurdwaras that allows mixed race weddings.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we spoke about religion earlier on. That is a choice made by the congregation, the Sangat of Royal Leamington Spa, who have invested over a period of 50, 60 years in keeping one Gurdwara in Leamington, serving the whole of the community, and providing a facility for the residents for the people of Royal Leamington Spa.
Yeah.
And some people from outside of Leamington, I remember they actually attacked the Gurdwara
because of
objecting to mixed
marriages,
race marriages.
Yeah.
And if we believe in Baba Nanak, if we believe in the teachings, we believe that there is one God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's a very famous saying, Sajid, which says that a rose by any other name is a rose.
Yes.
So therefore, God by any other name is God.
Still, yeah.
And then people will divide. Oh, that's my God. That's their God. And they get you to conform and, wear certain, tribal wear and things like that. Yeah. I've learned when in Rome, do as the Romans.
I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely right. And it's such a shame that you've got this objection, and it's such a shame that people are, it makes it so difficult, because we should be moving in the right direction with things like that. Yes. And it's almost like we're moving backwards.
Yes.
And people will stop going to the temple because of that, especially the young children of today, especially today's generation. They will start fighting it because of that.
Yes.
Which is such a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It really is. I think I definitely agree with you. It's a move in the wrong direction, because there are other things we should be focusing on.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if the young person, you mentioned my daughter, she's old enough to vote.
Yes.
Then, she's old enough to choose a career. Then she's old enough to choose a life partner.
Yeah, regardless, as long as he's a good person, or, she's a good person, it doesn't, as long as they are good people, I don't think you should have an objection.
Yes.
And I do think that people who are potentially running these temples need to look at these things, because how are you going to get the youngsters to come in when you're putting these barriers down all the time?
Yes.
There are so many other things that they could be using their time constructively to.
Yes.
And especially all the money as well that's going into these temples.
Yes.
Where is all this, all these efforts could be made in other areas, I feel.
Sadly, Sajid, a lot of it's going on buildings.
Of course. Yes.
Not on serving
the right
community.
things. Yeah, this is it.
Not on serving the elderly.
Yeah.
Or the disabled, helping less well-off people in other parts of the world, etc.
Do you get quite actively involved in that, Baji? Are you quite actively involved in that?
I have been heavily involved, particularly the community centre side of things.
That's good.
Rather than the temple side of things.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm.
Yeah, and it's quite rewarding, isn't it? Because you can see it in the community, how it's being affected.
Thing is, I've been in the community now for more than 63 years.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling in my heart.
Yeah.
And, I can understand both sides of the argument.
Yeah. Which is important, because we need to understand both sides of the argument.
Yes.
Just like we spoke earlier on about the immigration, there is two sides to it, and we need to see that. And especially for yourself, who arrived as a young boy, in this country, and what you've achieved and what you've gained from it, you can speak from your own experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example, Sarjeet. I mean, we often see images, they're not photographs, they're images of our gurus.
Yes.
For example, Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
Yes, yeah.
On a horse.
Yeah.
Now, if he was alive today, would he be travelling on a horse?
Of course he wouldn't. You're absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Would he be wearing the same attire that he wore in 1699?
Yes. Yeah.
Dare I say he would not?
Of course he wouldn't be.
Because he was the man of the times.
Yeah. that's where people are failing to understand it when these holy scriptures were written.
Yes.
And the times were very different.
Yes.
So we have to acknowledge that, don't we?
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge that. And like you say, right down to the pictures that have been drawn of them, we have to acknowledge that. And that's where people are failing to do that. And that's why we have so many issues in society when it comes down to religion.
A lot of it has become symbolic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than the actual scripture.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not going by, they pay very little attention to what they've listened to or what they've read.
Yes.
And they are kind of, there's a blind faith.
Yes, yeah.
Having said that, I don't think there's anything wrong with blind faith. Because many people in India are not well read.
No,
but
that's right.
They believe in the power of Sri Guru Granth Sahib.
Yes. Yeah.
And they have the blind faith, and that serves them.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to be very learned to believe.
But you don't need to be very learned to know the basics of that. Because
Absolutely.
Even as a child, me growing up,
Yes.
I wouldn't say I'm overly religious.
Yes.
Our parents didn't go, down that route,
Yes.
Be it good or bad, but they didn't go down that route until much later on in life. It's only Mum has now become a baptized Sikh in her later years. So we didn't have that.
No.
But I still know the basics.
The basics were don't do any harm to anybody.
No, exactly.
And we were taught the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. It's a big thing, isn't it?
That's the basics of all religions.
Yeah.
If you can't help anybody, don't do them any harm.
And we were also growing up, and I'm sure, when you were growing up as I was growing up, but maybe slightly different for you because, when you were here, your parents probably felt they had to even work harder to respect this country. And I know it was driven in us that we had to respect everyone.
Especially the power of authority.
Yes. Yeah.
Nobody would question the police officer or the doctor or the manager at work.
Yes, that's right.
There was obedience to authority.
And especially being Indian as well, especially being of a coloured skin.
And the fear of losing your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or worse. There was always that.
Yeah. I remember, when I was, it was one of my first jobs and I was probably just come out of dental school and I was, just finished my dental nursing and I was working in town for a dentist and he wasn't a very nice man. And I went from hospital to work in private practice and I was there probably about 6 weeks and he made a slightly challenging comment in front of a patient. And he said to me, what did you do over the weekend? Now, considering I was only 18, 19, and he was a man in his 50s, late 50s. And I said, we actually went to Scotland. We'd been to Scotland. And he said, okay. And he said to the patient, look, they're even getting as far as Scotland now.
That reminds me of something that was said to me. Not said to me, but a story. I was in junior school at the time, and after Christmas or summer holidays, teachers would always ask, what did you do in your summer holidays? Where did you go? And I remember speaking very, very fondly about going to Tipton to see my aunt. That was a family holiday.
That was your family. Well, I was so proud to say we'd been to Scotland.
Yes.
And like I said, he made this comment and then I decided that was it. That was it for me.
Yeah.
And I waited for the patient to go because both him and the patient laughed. And I stood there quite upset and angry. At the end of the day, I went up to the manager and I said, I'm giving you my notice. And at that time, because I'd only been there 6 weeks, I said, I only have to work till the end of the week. I think this happened like on a Tuesday. I said, I only have to work to the end of the week. You don't need to pay me for the. She said, but what's happened? I said, well, look, this was an underhand comment that was made to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd explained that, came home and I told Mum. Mum then told Dad, and this is my dad's reaction. Well, what, she must have said something. What did she do? She must have disrespected the boss. And I said, I didn't disrespect the boss. I didn't disrespect anyone. This is what he said to me. Well, you need to go and say sorry. What am I going to go and say sorry for? So this is how our parents were that's how they thought in those days, Well, my mum and dad did.
Even in recent years, Sajid, I remember Vanita being bullied at school.
Yeah.
There was a big girl, and she would hit Vanita, and there was an occasion where she banged Vanita's head on the floor.
No.
And she was a bully, and Vanita reported it to the school teacher. And you know what the school teacher's response was?
No, go on.
You must have deserved it, Vanita.
Deserved it. Oh no, that's terrible.
And the thought going through my mind was I would go in and tell the teacher, you deserve this.
Yeah.
But she said, no, she will go in.
Yes.
She will deal with the school.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have given it a different.
Yeah. I think the times, we think times have changed, but when something crops up like that, it's always in the back of your head, isn't it?
But racism or prejudice is not always about colour either.
No, of course it's not. Yeah.
I had one student of mine who was working for a national company in Coventry. Her manager was on leave or had left, and she was acting manager. English girl, born in Coventry, doing a degree. And a job came up the manager's job came up. She applied for it. 5 men on the panel. She said, how did I do? She was told, that's the best interview ever. She said, have I got the job? You know what she was told? No, the job's for the boys.
Oh, that's terrible.
She came to class the following week. I said, how did you get on?
Yeah.
And she was in tears, and she says, this is what I was told. I said, well, just send an email to HR.
Yeah.
Send an email to HR and ask them for the equal opportunities policy.
That's terrible, isn't it?
2 weeks later, she came back. She said, I didn't get that one, but I've got a job in Redditch as a manager.
That's terrible, isn't it? To think it still goes.
Yeah.
It does still go on. We know that. We know it still goes on. Racism in the workplace, not just racism, but everything else, other prejudice.
I had in a local pub. I was in the Queen's Head in Leamington on the night of 7/7. I went in for a drink, and there's a guy there. He said, "I will shoot the first Paki I see."
Oh my gosh, that's
I said, "Who are you going to shoot?"
Yeah,
there's no Paki in Covington.
Yeah.
Are you going to shoot me?
Yeah.
Are you going to ask me if I'm a Paki or not?
Yeah.
I've lived in this town longer than he's been born.
Yeah.
And that was people get very emotive. Something happens.
Yes.
There's an outburst, but Sajid, are they going to ask if we're Sikh or Muslim?
No, they're not. Of course they're not. They're just going to see the colour of our skin, and that's the scary part of it all. Yeah. I think that's the scary part of it, because that's where the conversation then gets,
It was on the news yesterday, on social media yesterday, where Canary Wharf, there, the people were stopping cars being driven by people of colour.
Yeah, it's so awful, so awful.
Yeah.
Do you see, what do you see? How do you see things going forward, Baji? How do you, for me, I was born in Southall, and I still go back to Southall. I do still see my roots in Southall. And Southall is a place where I feel has changed a lot.
Yes.
I don't know if it's changed for the good, but it's changed a lot. We see a lot of crime around there. We see a lot of people who have arrived there. They're doing nothing. There is a huge drug problem. People are coming. What shocks me is that where you're having to house people in the temples, because these youngsters, not just young boys, what's hard for me to understand, because I have a daughter and you have a daughter, is how are people sending over their daughters as young as 18, nowhere to go, they're turning up and they're having to go to the temples and sleep at the temples because there's nowhere to go. And this is what's happening in Southall. This is first-hand information that's been given to me by someone who's working in the Gurdwara in Southall. And like I said, I know all equal rights, boys and girls, but for me, I feel it more because it's a girl. And I think, gosh, if that was me, I would never be able to send my daughter like that. It's just, it's quite shocking when you hear of it, you know. And like I said, Southall's got huge issues at the moment, huge issues, and it's driving people away from Southall. You know, people don't want to live in Southall anymore because everything that's going on, you know, the problems that are taking over communities in Southall.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're facing the same thing where you are.
We're very lucky where we are in Leamington Spa, in Warwickshire generally. Having said that, a lot of people, students are coming over. Their agents back home in Punjab are not telling them. They're just saying to them, this is your fees.
Yes.
University fees.
Yes.
They're not telling them about the cost of living.
No.
They kind of lie to them and say you will easily get a job there.
Yeah.
They're working on building sites or doing odd jobs. The builders, a lot of them are Indian, are not refusing to pay them after they've worked, and they're abusing them.
Yeah.
They don't know how much it's going to cost them to live. I think a lot of those people are turning up to the Gurdwaras for their meal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We had a case of a student who arrived in Heathrow Airport. Nobody came to collect him. Oh. He didn't have a taxi fare.
Sad, isn't it? Very, very sad.
Yeah.
And their families are just sending them. And do you still feel they think, maybe like our parents thought, that the streets are paved with gold?
That's the impression. And they quickly learn when they have to work for Amazon or whoever. Yeah, they have to put in a shift.
Yeah. Why do you think
some of them come to my class and they sleep? Yeah, because they've been working night.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think the times are so different now to how our parents were? Do you think there was more opportunity when they were here? Like, you know, for instance, my dad, he had some great business ideas. You know, he bought the restaurant, then he had the dairy idea, took off. If you were to do that today, it's 100 times more challenging. Times were difficult then. Yeah. You know, they will tell you times were difficult then, but you speak to somebody today, they're telling you times are difficult today. What do you think changed in the middle?
In those days, so if you were willing to work, you could just knock on a factory or a shop and say, you know, I'd like a job. They wouldn't ask for a CV.
No.
They'd take one look at you. If they felt you could do the job, you were hired. Yeah. And, you know, you could leave on a Thursday and start a new job on the Friday. Yeah. Because the demand was there.
The opportunities were there.
You know, it's very emotive talking about immigration, but one thing that media does not cover very much is that close on 500,000 people leave the UK every year.
Absolutely, yeah.
And nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about the English person or the Welsh person who collects their pension in Spain or Portugal or goes and lives in New Zealand or Australia. Yeah. Nobody mentions all
nobody mentions why are these jobs that we're so desperately trying to fill? Yes. Nobody's doing those jobs.
Absolutely.
Why is no so-called British English person, whatever you want to call them, why is nobody doing those jobs? Why are we having to, you know, find people to do those jobs? So there's so many questions around those, and this conversation could go on forever with the way things are at the moment. But I think for us, like you've summed it up, and certainly for me, I feel for the first time, I feel slightly unsafe.
Yes. That's
a worry.
That is a worry.
Yeah, yeah.
And not just in the UK, but if you go across Europe.
Yeah, definitely.
Where, you know, for example, I've been to Dublin a number of times. I have very fond memories of them.
Yeah.
I have many, many Irish friends.
Yeah.
But, you know, what I see on the media nowadays, I would feel vulnerable as a man of colour.
Yeah, it's been a turn, isn't there? There's like a turn in the tide. It's
would they stop and ask me if I'm British.
Yeah.
No.
No, of course they don't.
It's like 9/11, Sarjeet, when taxi drivers in New York,
Yes,
Sikh taxi
were
drivers in
attacked
New Year's
because
were
they
killed
had turbans.
because they're wearing turbans and they were mistaken for the Taliban.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there needs to be a lot of work in educating people.
It's lack of education.
Yes.
It's some ignorance as well, but there definitely is a lack of education. And again, there was a lack of education even with the Brexit, you know, and lots of things like that have happened.
Yes.
Due to lack of education,
Yes.
people not being informed properly, or
Yes.
people choosing not to get informed. You
Yes.
know, with Brexit myself, I went and did my research. I wanted to make sure I knew the facts before I placed my vote.
Yes.
And that's what most people do.
Yes.
But a lot of people choose not to do that, or a lot of people don't do that. So Baji, I can see you have a great passion working in your communities, doing a lot in the community. You also have another secret talent, which we're going to talk about. You have this, I don't know, has it been a short career in music or is it still ongoing? But you have a great passion for music and live singing. Tell us a bit more about that.
It's not a career. It's something that, you know, when I went to university first time around, a lot of my friends, they could play musical instruments, they could sing. And, you know, studying in London, we would go to places like the Albert Hall, watch the great artists, people like Mohammed Rafi, Lata Mangeshkar. And I just made a wish. I wish I could sing.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't know, and nobody told me. I was tone deaf and I couldn't pitch to save my life. So many years later, I started having music lessons, singing lessons.
Yes.
So I trained my voice, and I use my voice in my teaching, you know, and also to create my music. And there's an interesting story about that, because I was teaching goal setting in class and went around the room talking about setting smart goals. And one of my students said, "Badge, have you got any goals?" I said, "I've always wanted to have a recording."
Yeah.
And one of my students, she put her hand up and she says, "You should meet my husband."
Oh, okay.
And I thought, this is strange.
Yeah.
And I got talking to her. She said, he's got a studio,
a
recording studio in London.
Yeah.
So I met up with Mose, and that's his stage name. And we became very, very good friends.
Oh.
And as a result of that, I've got a number of recordings, which are on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube, etc. Although I've never taught music to my daughter or taught her to sing, she's got that interest herself.
Yeah.
Her degree was in English and theatre studies, and she's got a love for theatre and drama.
Yeah.
And also she's been a presenter even on BBC Radio.
That's right, yeah.
So she's taken up that love for the arts herself. And, you know, I hope that one day she'll take it to the next level.
Yeah, no, that's good. And of course, you had the privilege of singing at most of our weddings,
yes.
didn't you? So that's a memory. That was practice.
That was practice.
That's a memory that I will always have of you, is singing at most of our weddings.
But I use my music to inspire and influence my students.
Yeah.
Because I say to them, look, if I can do that with very little talent, then you can do whatever you put your mind to.
No, that's a brilliant teaching. That's a brilliant way of seeing things. And it's been brilliant to have you here today.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Baji, for being here. And honestly, I've learned so much today. I've got some very interesting stories from you. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed it. Please, don't hesitate to join me again on my next episode, which will be with you soon. So hopefully see you then. In the meantime, please take care. Thank you.